Thank you for coming to the Plus U. This is the call-in show that follows, I should say, a official stream. This is a new one for me. First stream ever. So, we got this. This
one's even better.
This one's even
better than the Parting the Veil. You'll see. It'll be good.
Yeah.
I mean, don't set expectations that high.
So for anyone new here and new to the people here, I want to introduce my two co-hosts. So I'm Desryn. Y'all probably know me from the Rewind, but we've also got ManOfRohan, the musical genius behind his smash hits like Great Box, Lament, and recently some more shanty and shenanigans.
The shenanigans, right.
Yep. And then we have a comedy genius, but, looks aren't everything. No, I'm just kidding, Red. So RedbeardFlynn as well. And
it's your face. Oh.
But yeah, they're going to be my co-hosts here. And we'll see how this rolls.
My intro is just and RedbeardFlynn.
And RedbeardFlynn. He
looks funny.
Everybody should know RedbeardFlynn by now. He makes a ton of videos on YouTube. He streams as well. Yep. Super positive guy. If you don't already subscribe or
Please do
whatever,
it's great.
You know how it is. So anyway, but we're here to talk about the show that just aired that gave us a ton of beans on mounts, taming,
buckets,
stuff we've never heard before. I hear notes on notes.
Yes.
So,
got just 2 pages.
Oh wow, not
I wrote
bad.
them.
Let's see. I'm at
3.
I'm at about 1,500 words or so. So
we were comparing notes. I only have
you guys have joined. I'm an old guy. I actually wrote them. So. That's really great. I wish I wrote more things, but yeah, if you're new to the show, how it works is you join our Discord, get in the green room if you want to get on the show and tell us your thoughts. We might ask you some questions or hassle you a bit. You know how it is, but come on in.
But yeah, come on in. It looks like we already have quite a few people, and this is going to be everything concerning this last stream. So taming, mounts, everything they revealed tonight. So we'll try to keep that on topic.
Minus the fear of bears.
How about this? Right off the bat, real quick, just did you guys like the stream? Did you guys not like the stream? Surprised? What do you guys think?
Oh, man. Well, I'll just jump in and say I felt like this was the most in-depth stream that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of people don't feel like that, but I feel like there was so much detailed information about mounts and about taming, about movement, about why it's good to have movement. I just felt like it was the night of I was reading a game that's already out, and I was reading what I need to do, and so it was so detailed, and I know they've been thinking about it for a long time. They've had a long time to think about it for sure, but I really enjoyed it. So. Personally, I think I liked this stream more than most of the rest, even though I love the rest, most of them. This one was it was great. So
awesome.
A lot more to say, but I'll turn it over.
We'll definitely get into that, I'm sure. What about you, Red? Right off the bat.
I mean, I don't think there's been a stream with Joppa that I haven't enjoyed. So right off, I really did enjoy it. And I think that it's a really big point to point out, just how in depth it is. Because of the fear of feature creep, right? As Linus mentioned at the end. And something like the amount of detail and depth that Joppa went into, I think really, at least for me, put to sleep a lot of those fears of it being feature creep, because this isn't something that they came up with in August. It felt like a lot of a very it wasn't Joppa knew what he was saying, but he wasn't reading a script. It was just stuff he knew. Hopefully that makes sense.
I mean, unless he's just really, really good at reading notes with just looking supernatural. That's something that's been in there for a long time,
Yeah. Well, I also realized I think I need to play Breath of the Wild now.
Oh yeah.
Everyone should.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone should. It's a great game.
Well, but we all know this this show, the Plus U, it's not so much about the hosts as it is about the people calling in. So it looks like we've got quite a few people already in. Let's see. You know, I'm gonna like I'm gonna do the streamer thing and pull in the guy that just gave us money. Because Zip is just a great guy, and I love that he called in, and I really appreciate his support. So I'm going to bring Zip in. Make sure to unmute yourself, and as soon as I see you unmute, I will drag you in. Okay, Zip?
Sounds good.
All right.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Hey, Zip.
Welcome, Zip. Are you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm.
Yep.
All right. Awesome.
Oh,
So, Zip, do you have any particular points, or should we bombard you with some questions?
I just had the point, of course, that I could listen to Joppa talk about game theory all day, and I feel really pumped about it. Like you said, the mountain system is something that he has spent a lot of time and thought of, and I need to play Breath of Wild 2.
Oh yeah, man, Breath of the Wild 2. I think I didn't play it enough because I only had access to it on a friend's Switch for a while. And I don't know if they did it on PC, man, I'd be there in a second. But
Yeah, I don't have a Switch
I see the
either.
inspiration, you know. So
As a Darkmer, I'm looking forward to swimming animals, taming swimming animals.
yeah,
mhm. Oh, yeah.
Hammerhead shark or
That was gonna be my question: is what animal
a
would
seahorse.
you want?
A seahorse? I don't know.
a seahorse, huh?
Right.
So
And that seems new. The water, to me, I just always envisioned land animals, but obviously there's a lot happening in the water. And if we're going to be traversing in large expanses of water, I get it, man. That's so cool. I was excited to hear that too.
yeah, so this is kind of like a you know, I wouldn't say a new thing, but since we didn't know much about, you know, the whole taming system in the first place, hearing about all of the more like diverse mounts, you know, things that are going to be local to a certain area and important to the environment. So as like a Darkmer, it's like you'll have your own flavor of, you know, mounts and possibly abilities with those mounts. Did you did you like the idea of
Possibly stealth abilities too.
yeah, as a Ziplocs? I assume you're still going with a rogue. You know, maybe an underwater stealth rare mount. You know,
Sure, Rogue.
Of course.
yeah.
Of course.
An octopus so I can hide in the ink or something. You know, a squid.
Oh, that's
yeah.
a great idea. Like some kind of ink escape ability.
Oh, that's actually really cool.
That's
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
people are so creative. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's too good. Anything else you have, Zip? You want to ask us?
Yeah, that's
or
what I wanted to say,
point out?
guys.
Okay.
Enjoy the show.
Well, you're very appreciated, man.
Yeah,
and
thanks, Zip.
thanks for hopping on. I'll grab someone else here, all right?
My
But
pleasure.
thanks
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Zip.
See you soon.
All right. Let's see. Man, that is just such a cool idea of like things that are going to make underwater travel more interesting. Man.
And I was just excited about a horse, and like now we're bringing in squid and stealth bears.
Oh man.
I know,
I
it's
just want
crazy.
pony.
It's crazy. So I think let's get a Sarah in here. So a Sarah, go ahead and unmute yourself, and I will drag you in here. All right. I know you've got things to say. So
I took notes. I
awesome.
typed them.
That's perfect. Do you just want to start just start throwing stuff at us?
Well, we didn't really know very much to begin with, except, you know, that this was probably going to be a possibility, or well, we knew it was a possibility because they had announced it before, but we didn't have any idea
So
what it was
vague.
going to look like. So vague. And now we know so much. That was the most awesome stream. Like stats, categories for their stats, stables, like rare mounts, that you can rent mounts from towns and like getting specific mounts from specific locations. So you got to go there to get that mount. Like that was awesome.
So just like information density, huh?
Yes, I love the information density. I want all the beans. I just want to fill up this jar on my desk with beans. So I love how they're doing the mount system. I loved the mounts in Breath of the Wild too, and just being able to go up and like tame a random like creature is so cool. I'm talking really fast and a lot. I'm sorry, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's an exciting thing. I mean, I'm stoked. So go for it.
I do it every time.
I really hope that they have like class and race specific stuff too. Like I hope that a certain class can tame certain things that other classes can't, and like racial stuff too. Like only this race can ride this mount. Like that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, so actually,
I'm excited to see where they take it.
Since you brought that up, like what do you think Joppa was getting at? Because to me, it sounded really vague, like something kind of like we could do that. But yeah,
that's kind of what I was feeling too, Des. I didn't feel like that's really been something that's been fleshed out yet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah. But definitely a cool idea.
They have the like foundation for it, but they haven't decided how deep they want to go yet. Maybe.
Yeah. What do you think, Rob?
That's kind of what I was thinking.
I was just going to say, it seems like the aim is they want utility for as wide of a class set or as possible. You know, Theric mentioned that Black Rose keep having specific, and that I was very excited to hear that as well, is that, you know, you go into a place and they may have something special there, and it's a reason to go there other than just fighting, other than just getting treasure, is that they may have some mounts that you could tame inside this area. And
that was a huge drop.
Right. So if that's the aim, say, I want to have certain places, not necessarily certain classes that kind of just already get it kind of built in. I mean, I do like the idea. I did love the scaled wolf Beast Lord guy for the Ixar. You know, that was really cool.
Oh, okay.
You know, compared to the other kinds, you know, in original EQ. But I do also like the it just seems to be a little more wide open and gives more agency to everyone to try and choose where they want to get it from. So that's just my thought on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if I can add something on that, the game that I kept thinking of throughout this whole thing was Ultima Online.
Oh my gosh!
Specifically, the fact that the mounts you get are in the world, and it makes it more immersive because you're getting them from the world. And I mean, just you have different mounts all over the place in Ultima Online. You know, from horses to pack donkeys to nightmares and all kinds of things like that. And like I just through my notes, it just continuously says Ultima Online. And as an older guy, like, that's amazing, and I love that because it does really make the world feel super immersive when things in the world are worth more than just killing them for experience or loot.
Especially the first time you're playing through and you're in a new area and you've never seen this creature before, and it's like, can I tame this one or not? Oh my god,
yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that you have to like learn how to tame and like you skill up with it, and like it's not something that like, oh okay, I dinged level 20, now I can go buy my mount for however much gold, or I dinged level 20 and now I can do it. You know, like you have to actually put in effort and learn how to do it too, and skill it up, or you're not going to be able to get all the cool things. And I hope they never put mounts that you can buy in this game. I hope it's always that way.
Yeah, that was.
Well, Joppa talked about. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, I think you're going to say the same thing.
Joppa talked about pre-investment into getting there. You know, so I thought, you know, you're investing your skill and your money and possibly level. You know, that seems like it should be part of the puzzle. But yeah, that's great. Anyway.
Well, fun thing about that pre-investment, though, is that it also gives a certain amount of opportunity loss if you just blaze through your levels into areas with higher level mounts that you just can't tame because you haven't put time into it while you were leveling. That was a big thought on my head, was what it means is you're going to be coming across things that you're going to /con, and they're all going to be too hard for you to tame because you haven't put anything into it, and you're only going to be able to get, common, low level stuff, which might be fine for you. It gives you choice, but a certain amount of opportunity loss by leveling up too fast is something I think you all know that I'm kind of a big fan of, something to slow you down a bit, right?
I'm looking forward to seeing Red riding his penguin mount in the snowy areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm going to hop out so someone else has time.
Fantastic.
But thanks for having me in.
All
Thanks,
right.
Sarah.
Okay, so, we're actually going through the green room pretty quick. So before I bring in, let's do byproducts, aka Fate. So I'll bring you in here in a second. And before I bring you in, though, I'm just going to call out if you haven't ever gone into the green room and you have some thoughts or whatever, just go join our Discord. If you're not in there already, pop into the green room. We'll pull you on here. It's really fun. And no pressure. It's just like talking to friends. I promise.
It's less scary than it seems.
Yep.
I know Des is very scary, but
I know I'm so. Oh my gosh! I already lost the words.
Yeah.
Intimidating.
Intimidating. Yeah. Okay. So let's get byproducts in here. Hey there. Glad to get you in.
How's it going?
Hello.
Good.
I think we're all pretty much on cloud 9.
Yeah.
It sounds like it. I'm a little sad that Joppa actually brought up Breath of the Wild in the stream, because I was going to come on here and give him a little kind of heckle him a little bit, because as I was listening to him talk about the stats and then stabling and stuff like that, I'm like, this is just Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, Legend of Pantheon, out of the mind of Joppa.
Yeah.
So,
I hope they can't copyright it. Yeah, because it's
right. But it kind of does mean, if something works and is good, I don't know. Do you think that's a bad thing, or do you think it's?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. We'll see how I feel about that if they add a mini game to the Taming, and we'll see how because I wasn't the biggest fan of the mini game in Breath of the Wild, so we'll see how far they go with that. If you have to ride it around for 5 solid minutes trying to get it to calm down so you can ride it somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder what that, because he talked about your endurance to be able to actually tame. So I wonder if it is I click tame and then I just wait and still stay silent, or am I wrestling with the creature somehow, or am I,
So he did
I wonder
actually
what that's going to
note
look like.
that there may be some abilities that you can use while you are in the process of taming. So it sounds like, it either replaces your current bar for a second, or something else. It didn't sound too crazy. They didn't say mini game, but I think
Could be endurance based too.
Yeah, maybe it costs more endurance, but gives you a higher chance to finish it sooner. Something like that.
It almost sounded like one of the difficulties was going to be some of the most difficult part would be the approach, right?
Yes.
So
yes,
the approach to the whatever it is, and I can think of if it's a bear, right? Maybe it's going to turn on you and attack you. If it's a horse, maybe it'll run away. And it made me think, is this just a way to expand the acclimation system? You're hiding your smells and things, right? But you could also be using the acclimation system in different ways to make you more blend in with the environment more, perhaps, and things like that. So I thought that would be a way to kind of tie those systems together and make it unique to Pantheon, at least somewhat unique.
Yeah.
And will keepers have an easier time because maybe they'll have more information on what sense, because Joppa was talking about senses, what senses that an animal has to pick up on. So if a horse doesn't have a very good sense of smell, you don't need to bother hiding your smell. You just need to sneak up on it.
That's a great call out.
In real life, bears have one of the best senses of smells in the world. You definitely would need to hide your sense of smell with a bear, but I believe they have terrible eyesight, so it might not need to worry as much about eyesight as.
Wait, you just made me think of something.
Yeah.
Most recently, the last stream, wasn't the one of the new hires, wasn't their background in zoology?
Right.
Can we put that
there you go.
system?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's the
Love
perfect
it.
hire.
There you go.
That actually
They wear many hats, right?
it's true. I know the team does wear a lot of hats. Interesting you mentioned that keepers might have more information, because Joppa did make a point to talk about how
consideration system.
Yes, they want to expand the consideration system. And while he gave some examples, of like, hey, this is what it'll say in these situations, it's pretty straightforward on the whole, like whether you can tame it or not. But do you guys think maybe the expansion might mean more things along these, like instead of just it wants to kill you or not and it's tameable?
Maybe
not?
for the at least as far as tameable mounts, maybe for the rare ones, because I would think, because a point that he made was that he didn't want it to be an onerous thing, right? So you don't you just need your taming skill. You don't need taming and doing the keeper stuff. But if you want to get that extra special mount, then maybe you do need the keeper skill up so that you can actually sneak up on it and get it.
I love that. I love that idea, having perception as a part of, that's just so cool. You should call them. Minus is on there. Hey, Minus, tell the rest of the team about this. It's awesome.
Be our emissary, please.
As a last thing, though, I did want to ask you guys, because Minus and Joppa, they asked each other what some of their favorite mounts from games were. I wanted to see what some of your favorite mounts from previous games. I know one of mine actually comes from World of Warcraft. It was a little water bug that walked along on the water. It's one of my favorite little mounts, just the way that it looked, and just like running along the water instead of swimming through it or flying over it. Running across it was a lot more fun, in my opinion. And you could fish from it too, which was, of course, every fisher's dream. You get on get on a mount, walk out onto the water, and fish in peace out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. Well, how about let's start with Mr. ManOfRohan. Do you have a favorite mount that you can remember?
Actually, and I know this isn't going to really fit, but my favorite mount is the flying carpet from Maj Duel that you have to quest. It seemed like forever for you finally kill a genie, and you get this flying carpet, and I kept it for my entire life as a conjurer in EQ2. That's what I used as the transmog for all my other mounts that I happen to have, if I got any. But yeah, I loved it. It seemed right. It seemed right for a conjurer to have.
I kind of hate that you said that, Rove, just because that was literally the first thing that popped into my head was the carpet quest and how special it was back then, right?
Yeah.
I had that carpet too. I kept it for a long time.
Yeah. Well, then I guess I'm going to pass it to Red while I think of a different answer now.
Well, I had two. One's more recent, but one. Knowing ManOfRohan's love of EverQuest 2, I'm going to go with this one instead of the Guild Wars 2 mounts. It was like a gliding, like a lizard thing in EverQuest 2 when they added in mounts that had more like abilities in EverQuest 2. And so it was a lizard that was low to the ground, but it glided. And so I really liked that lizard. I had a lot of fun on that.
Yeah, man. And now they have things like giant dinosaurs. Come on, EQ2.
Dude, I
travesty.
I know we've gone over that so many times, the stupid giant dinosaurs. But I'm gonna have to split from MMOs a little bit into just another game with writing that is sticking out to me, because in truth,
Breath of the Wild.
Oh, I'm not gonna say Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna say Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay.
Because I still, it's one of my favorite, I guess, adventure games, but especially with what Joppa was talking about, the sense of arrival. That whole game is about just going from one big fight to another big fight, and you do that through your horse. And the cool thing about it, though, is how the horse kind of factors into all of the mechanics. And the writing, I think, feels really good in that game. Feels weighty, as Joppa might say. But also it was such a key to certain fights. And so it was like traversal, but it was useful. And so I'm gonna throw it to that, just because I can't. I'm thinking all these EQ2 mounts, but I'm like, they weren't really like special. I didn't really feel like a connection. I just kind of like cycled through them, other than the carpet. So anyway, was that it for you, Byproducts?
Yeah, I think I'll hand it off to somebody else.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Byproduct.
All right.
See you soon.
All right. So it looks like we've had Mr. Glorfindel in the lobby for a bit. So if you want to unmute, we'll get you back on the show. I say back on the show because Glorf was on the last Plus U.
Mm-hmm.
So we're hitting a twofer here. So,
and he has a kick-ass name, so it's good.
I figure if anyone's going to appreciate Glorfindel's name, it's Mr. ManOfRohan. So welcome in, bud.
Are these names from some like small fantasy thing that I've never heard of?
Just some obscure,
very obscure.
Just the basis of all modern fantasy. No big deal.
Have it tattooed on me now.
Well, Mr. Glorf, have you anything specific to say or ask of us, or just get out there your thoughts?
Yeah, and it looks like when you moved me over, that killed my active push to talk. So that explains why I've been relatively silent after being pulled over. But that's right. I will, before getting to that, point out that unless you are a true fan, you're not going to recognize my name because I was totally yanked out of the movies for Arwen.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
not salty at all.
No, not salty. I like it because then you have to be a real fan to actually recognize the name.
Okay,
but she spoke really slowly and
whoa, this was a mistake. Yeah. We need to not get these guys together again. No, I'm just kidding.
I am perfectly okay with there not being 1,000 Glorfindels running around, just like there are 1,000 Legolases.
That's true.
Perfect.
So anyway,
yeah. What do you got for us?
Yeah, there's a few things. One of the things you guys overlooked a little bit ago was that he did mention Joppa, of course. After you activate the taming ability, you would mount the animal, and then you would have to stay mounted throughout the process. Being if you ran out of endurance, if you failed to react to something, you would fall off.
Yep.
So it's not simply you start it and then you just sit there and wait for it to finish.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I totally forgot as well. You have to have your stable slot in order to be able to hold on to that mount.
Oh yeah, that was an interesting mechanic, right? So you have to have. Yeah, sorry.
There's definitely a lot of interest in. You can go out without a stable slot at all, or without a open one. You can tame something. You can ride around with it and use it. Presumably, when you stop riding it, or possibly even if something simply knocks you off, it's going to run off and do its own thing again, and you don't have a mount anymore. If you have a open slot, that's where you could then. I didn't catch if you had to take it all the way back to the stable, or if it simply would go back there on its own. I would like to think you would have to take it back at least the first time, and stable it officially. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of interaction that's going to be really interesting with that stabling system.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned getting knocked off too, which is kind of something that we didn't talk about too much. Is just all the things that could happen even after you are mounted, and it sounds like that will stat is a little bit interesting in that sense of like if you get knocked off of your mount by whatever means. He mentioned damage, so maybe there's more other ways, but you get knocked off your mount, it might just run off. That's kind of wild.
Well, wait. I thought. Well, if it's stable,
you mentioned stability too. Yeah.
If it's stable, it doesn't run off. But if it's not stable, I think that's when it has the potential. That's where the will stat comes in. Unless I was misunderstanding, I think stabling it kind of changes the dynamics a little bit.
I think stabling it's still going to run
Return
off,
to the
but
stable,
only
yeah.
after you haven't interacted with it for however long.
Right. Yeah.
I would
It'll eventually
suspect
walk back to the
the
stable.
the higher the will, the longer it's going to wait around for you to interact. So if you have
Yeah.
something with a high will, you could spend a couple hours and it's still waiting there for you. If you have something with a very low will, it might be gone in 10 or 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he did mention stability being when you get hit. If that mount is more stable, not goes to the stable, but is more stable,
Yeah.
that if they're more stable, you're likely to stay on. That's my guess anyway.
Oh yeah.
That
That
they would
seems
do.
like a pretty straightforward one.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think,
stability
like,
was
has that been done in
definitely
the
a
MMO?
how easy can it knock you out, or how easily can you be knocked off?
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note of stables, though, how do you feel about if you bring a mount out and you run into something really rare that you can't tame it? How do you approach that?
I'm okay with that. What I would like to have, though, is a command of some kind to tell your horse,
Go home.
go back to the stable.
Yeah.
Now, the question is, how quickly is that effective in that I've told my mount to go home? Can I then pick a new mount instantly in 2 minutes, in 5 minutes? Does it depend on how far away I am from the stable I left or the nearest stable? Or there's definitely a lot of factors you could pull into that, but I do think that you need to have a way to send your mount home, simply because if no other reason, I'm going into a dungeon, I plan on being there for 8 hours. Why have the mount out here when I could possibly run into a potential mount inside the dungeon?
Oh yeah. I feel like that's going to be something that keeps getting brought up, because that's just like, that's the dream, is potentially finding a mount while you're, deep in Black Crow's Keep or something, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah, and just because I'm not outside or because I'm deep somewhere dangerous doesn't mean that I'm not going to find a creature that might be viable as a mount.
True. What about mounts in dungeons? Because you mentioned having some, or potentially, some mounts having special abilities for even climbing and swimming and things like that. So I'm thinking, mounts to get to hard to reach places. Do you think they might be usable for that?
Definitely. I mean, if it's a viable now, the when it comes to being in dungeons, you'd have to temper that with, you have to get the mount through all the combats to get to where you have this difficult to climb place. I would not expect tagging a mount along with you through multiple combats when it's not meant to be something you have combat on is not going to be an easy process.
Yep. Unless you have a very stable mount, maybe. It's you can maybe
stay over here. I need to fight a bunch of people. Don't get killed, please.
Sure, if you're not contributing to combat, it seemed to me like most of your combat skills simply aren't going to be usable. Mounted. Yeah. Now maybe some of your casters, your healers get a little leeway there, but I even think exorbitant casting might be enough to cause a mount to react adversely to interrupt your castings,
especially fire.
Yeah.
If we're thinking of horses,
what if it's a fire horse?
If it's a fire horse, you're right.
A nightmare.
You're right.
Oh, yep. He would bring up the nightmares.
Or if it's my bunny, it's crinkling paper freaks the crap out of her. So, can't ride her.
Awesome.
Yeah, and with the odd mounts, I definitely look forward to the possibility. You touched on it almost first thing, was for water-based mounts, specifically for the Darkmer to use, or anyone. Yeah. It's just, if you can't breathe underwater, do you take your life into your hands by taking a water-based mount that you quickly go too deep and can't make it back up in time. But that's beside the point, I guess. the Darkmer starting city, assuming it's near a coastal area, which I would like to think it would be a great place for a water-based stables.
Yeah. Well, actually, maybe this will be the last thing I ask before I pull someone else in. Do you think, in order to, obviously, if you stable a creature, I would assume that you would have to go to the stable to retrieve it. Or do you think maybe it's something that you can kind of call?
I think
from my opinion, I would like to have to go to the stables. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you couldn't have a service in, village areas where you could go and have your horse brought to you from there. Maybe it shows up 5 minutes later or something, versus you having to run 25 minutes to the nearest or to where your mount is stabled.
Right. Because if we're talking about going to exotic places with, potentially a mount that you've saved and nurtured that's been in your stables for a while, of course, and we have to factor in the will stat too. So
and also just I definitely don't want to think that, say, only the big cities are going to have stables. There's no reason you can't have stables at any population center.
Oh, right.
So as you're out adventuring, you simply go to the smallest or nearest small village or something with a stable, and you bind your mount there in the same way that you would bind yourself at one of the redstones.
Yeah, that's kind of how I would expect it to work as well. For sure. Just so that, if you do have to go to somewhere, really, really far out, you might not be able to bring your mount the whole way, right? If you're far away from town.
So this was my take on how like I understood it was like and perhaps I just completely misunderstood how, but it sounded like you would go to the stable, get the horse, but then you would still have it with you. Like, may like get it the first time, but then having it stabled is an ability to call it, because if you're out having it, then you would have it there, and it does eventually go back to the stable. But I don't know how exactly, like if there's like a calling thing. Joppa did seem to, not like the idea of having the weightless token in your inventory that would summon the mount. But it did seem like, it seemed like there might be some way to bring your mount out at some point while out. You know what I mean? Like, instead of leaving from the stable.
My thoughts on the process as a whole is basically kind of like this. You would find something, tame it, take it back to the stables, stable it. It has to be there for X amount of time to become a stabled mount. Then you go back to the stable, get on your mount, ride out, do whatever you do, possibly bind it at a more local stable to your final destination, mount up, ride out from there, go all the way out to the dungeon, start adventuring, leaving your mount outside most likely. If you are in there for a couple hours, maybe it's still there waiting for you when you're leaving, and you don't have to do anything else. If it takes you longer, then it goes back to where you previously bound it, which is the nearest local small stable. So when you leave, you now have an option. Your mount is stabled again. You can find a mount in the area to get you from where you are to where your mount is and ride that, or you can start walking or some other form of travel. But you're not going all the way back to the main city area without a mount.
Gotcha. So you're basically saying each stable would be kind of its own thing.
It's like I said, it's kind of to binding yourself, except instead of your mount dying to go back, it simply stops waiting for you and goes back.
It's so funny just because as information dense as this episode was, and it even went like longer than I expected, to be honest. There's still questions.
I had that as a note.
We still have additional questions, right?
And that's why I never have questions for these going into them. I always have questions coming out because there's 50,000 things that I could ask. Maybe 5 of them are relevant when I don't know anything about the system. Once you've told me about it, now I've got relevant questions.
That's
now
true.
I have things I want to know.
That's true.
Hey guys, I fixed it. We just have a convenient stable outside every dungeon.
Oh
we go.
my
I
gosh.
fixed it.
Well, we could let people argue about that for sure.
Something tells me the maintenance cost on those stables, therefore the stabling cost is going to be a little exorbitant.
Okay.
See, yeah, I can already say that Drac is going to set up a stable. It's going to be like a player-run stable outside every dungeon.
Jeez.
It'll be a franchise.
Yep. As Theric put, Drag Snags Stables. That's awesome. Well, all right, Glorf. Thanks for popping in again,
Thanks,
man.
Glorfendo.
Nice having you back on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Have a good evening, all.
See you, bud. All right. Lastly, we've got another Pantheon, I guess, content creator. Could I say that? Is that a bad word now? But we've got Mr. Moxis.
I hope not.
From Disparate Worlds in the green room. So I'm going to drag you in here, and I want to hear what you have to say. Hey, Mox.
Hey, Mox.
Mox.
Uh-oh. Can't hear you, bud.
Oh, no.
I'll give him
I thought I
a
heard something.
second here.
So while Moxis is working on that, one of the things I was thinking of is, like, as we were talking about that, it's interesting because now I'm wondering, like, what would I prefer this to work with the stables or not? Like, I didn't even know I had a preference, and now I'm thinking, do I have a preference? And, like, because it's so, like, the current system sounds more like Ultima Online, and I remember how much it was really annoying, like, losing my mount and then having to walk back. And so it's making me like, do I actually have a preference now? And I didn't even know about, like, this was a thing until today. It's one of the interesting things about this parting the veil.
Hello.
There
Moxis.
he is.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Good, man. Good.
Thanks for coming on.
Dude, you're on the
Thank
show.
you guys for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem.
So my question directly has to do with what he mentioned about the rogues having an advantage in taming. And I was curious, what other classes will have things that will help them? Like, I want to play an enchanter. Will I be able to put a mount to sleep to be able to sneak up on it? Or does that automatically put it in combat? Like, what are your guys' thoughts on that? And possibly, obviously the bard would be another option. Are there any other classes that you think might have something that might be able to help?
Great question. I think he did mention, the classes that are more attuned to nature seem to be ones that would have a certain thing. But as I'm thinking of it, you bring up a great point. Why does it have to be all woodland creatures? It doesn't. Maybe I am. Maybe I am able to charm, put to sleep, whatever, a elemental of some sort that is a creature, that's a natural creature for this area. I'm just throwing something out there. I'm not saying that's anything close to true. But, if I could, I think, I don't know, most classes, there probably is some utility that would work to alongside those other elements of having a higher taming skill, having a higher whatever. I feel like there could be. I'm not thinking of all of them right now. The obvious ones are rogue and ranger and anyone who can sneak.
Yeah.
But if I can mask myself in a different way, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, as an enchanter, that's a perfect example of an alternative benefit. Maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, with how important this is going to be for travel, which I actually have a point about that someone brought up in the chat that could be kind of problematic. But the how important it is, it seems like it'd behoove to have each class to have some kind of benefit. Like perhaps, a warrior has more endurance, so not necessarily just all the sneaking up on, but if each class could approach taming in a different way, that would be cool. instead of giving one class the advantage, since all classes can use it. Is that? I mean, it seems like then you get into balancing issues.
Well, yeah,
so
of course.
Interesting ways to make other classes have some kind of benefit, that like thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, I think you've got a few good ideas there. Yeah, it's a matter of balance, of course, and some people will probably be, feeling like certain things are unfair. But the other one that was brought up was, simply different types of creatures, or having different affinities for certain types of creatures.
I mean, Necromancer, I could just summon it after I kill it, right? So that would work.
That would be interesting.
You can't tame the corpse, Red.
Monster.
Skeletal mountains, come on.
I mean, or even clerics being able to, say, get an undead and bind it somehow, like using holy magic.
Chaotic good cleric. Let's go.
Yeah, see, it's a slippery slope from battle cleric to undead general, I guess.
It's the necromancer corruption here. That's all.
Yep, it was bound to happen. But yeah, that's a lot to think on, Mox. Yeah, is there anything else that we can like go into? Because that I'm sure is like just worthy of a forum post. Like, there's so many ideas that can go into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I think that obviously this is the first that they're revealing on this stuff. So I'm sure whatever 8 or 10 months down the road they will revisit it with us with an update of some sort.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit before the show, but it definitely sounds like, this isn't something impending. They're talking about this kind of in response to, they mentioned it, so they're giving us a bunch more information, but I don't think that indicates that it's soon.
No. Ben mentioned in the chat, I don't know if you saw it, he said this is targeted for alpha currently.
Yeah.
Post-alpha.
Good call out. Good call out.
It was actually like post-alpha, so it's even... I don't expect to see this on the road to alpha at all.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. And there's a lot that's going to happen during alpha, of course, as well.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's probably an important one for us to note, right?
Well, I'm thinking they're going to want it during alpha because they need to be able to test the load with all of the pre-alpha and alpha
pretty big
testers.
System. Yeah.
Right. They need to be able to. There's going to be lots of taming happening at the same time all over the world, or all over the continent.
Lots of taming, and then it does also. I want to kind of touch on this, but Joppa kind of made it sound like there's a distinct possibility that the mounts would kind of be their own entity. Something that you can cast buffs on potentially. Although that sounded a bit more up in the air. But if every player is running around with a mount, that's kind of like that's. Like
Doubling
every player having
population.
pets, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Especially with the issues they've had with the pets so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to ask Mox, did you not hear, and I didn't hear either, anyone addressing, at least not Minus or Joppa, about death of pets?
No, and I was just going to mention that if they're targetable for buffs, then I think they should be targetable for debuffs and attacks.
So do you think the mount should die? And if so, do you think the mount should die even if it's a stabled mount?
That is the
the mounts won't die. Well, that was pretty straightforward.
That was quick.
Hey, Joppa.
Because I was about to say, I imagine the mount would probably just either despawn or run back to the stable or where it came from. But yep.
That also dashes my hopes of being able to raise the mount as an undead horse.
Oh.
They don't die. Does that mean that they won't disappear, or do they reach 0 hit points and go back to the stable, and then you can resummon them after like 30 minutes? Like, what's the plan?
Yeah, RedbeardFlynn. Thank you, Minus. That was too.
That's
good.
a great question. I mean, that's implementation details.
They don't have
sure.
health, he said.
They won't have health.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. So we can get dismounted, but they won't die.
Yeah,
I can live with that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think there definitely has to be some restrictions, right? So if you get dismounted or if the mount kind of is at the end of its will, however you want to put that. There's going to be a point where you've gone so far with a mount and it leaves you one way or another, right? And either you have to get a new one in the area that you're at, or go back to the stable, or however that works. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, there needs to be a cost for sure of an event happening, but I agree that if I've spent so much time invested in binding, and gaining affinity with my mount, I want to be able to go back and get it.
Yeah.
That would be really sad, I think, for me and for a lot of other players. But maybe there's a hardcore mode. Maybe there's a hardcore server set.
Actually, Jimmy Turbo brings up something that was kind of in my notes to talk about, which was how does will work with stabled mounts? And I guess the question is, with will, do you guys think it applies to maybe just the duration you can ride? Because there's definitely a distinct, this isn't forever. Even if it's a stabled mount, it will leave you. So do you think the will stat for a stable mount will just mean how long before it, runs back home? Or
I thought this stabling brought in some level of permanence.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's permanent, but I don't think that means you can ride it in one go forever. At least that's what I got out of it.
No, but Joppa did allude to there being other things with stabling, because we were talking about, you find a replacement mount, but you keep lucky in the stable, that there might be some other kind of way to advance. And so that's something, sounds all very new and not fully fleshed out, but that's something that I find interesting. Can you continue to build up that rapport with your mount while it's stabled, kind of thing, and not using it? So that'd be an interesting way to build up that will, I guess, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. What about you, Ro? What are you thinking?
I am thinking that overall, the level of depth of all the skills, and I mentioned it in the stream, is like JRPG level of level upon level upon level of things to do, and I think they're thinking about it. If this is a question that's coming up, I think the framework that they've set in place, or that they are setting in place, at least from tonight, like I said, it was just really dense.
Yeah.
But what's come up tonight, I think that framework is going to be able to take on some of those edge issues and be able to deal with them in a logical way. Especially if during testing we realize, oh man, this is a ridiculous. We screwed this one up. We gotta turn left right now, because or else we're gonna do something. It's gonna not be fun, or it's gonna be.
There's always that possibility.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah. Think about it. We've been on here for an hour now. Can you imagine really many other MMOs where we'd spend an hour talking about mounts? And I know we're also talking about taming, but the depth is really exciting to me. I didn't know I wanted. I missed this in Ultima Online, but I missed this in Ultima Online.
Yeah. Well, so what about you, Mox? So this is a whole new thing, and being a Pantheon follower, I'm sure you were anticipating some information. Do you think this is too complicated? Do you think it's freaking rad? Do you like the ideas? Is there anything you don't like about it?
I like the idea. I definitely missed meaningful travel, and this is coming from a guy that died multiple times because I couldn't find my way in EverQuest. I just struggled a lot in a lot of places. I'd make a left turn and should have been a right turn. Catch, keep, forget about it. Trying to swim that 3D dungeon was a nightmare for me. But so I like the idea of this of 3D travel and things like that, and the challenge of it. I think that the idea that, and I do like the idea that you can't just go buy a mount. I like the option of renting a mount. Those things. Those are very thoughtful things they're putting in there, saying, okay, we're not going to be able to just go and plop down money and get a mount forever, but if you need a mount, you can get one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I appreciate all the thoughtfulness that goes in. Like that's the one thing about this game. It's like they don't just put something in to put it in. They think about it.
Yeah.
They look at the predecessors and think about it and put forth a good option.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's a very
Absolutely.
wholesome point about this whole thing.
Redbeard's cheering.
Like there's just like the whole stream. I was just thinking this can tie to so many different systems depending on how they go about it. It can tie to acclamation. It can tie to perception. It ties to everything in the game and offers kind of a horizontal progression at the same time. It doesn't feel tacked on, which, I mean, a lot of times when you worry about something like feature creep, it's stuff that feels tacked on to get headlines. This feels like it has been thought of from the ground up as part of the entirety of the system.
Yeah.
And I'm being a too much of a fan with that, but like it really that is why I have a freaking Pantheon shirt and I make MMO content that's not related to Pantheon. This is the only MMO shirt I have because I feel like this game is being built in a way that is considering everything.
Well said.
Yeah, I mean,
And I like the consideration because I actually put that in as a question a couple streams back. I didn't realize it was off topic when they were talking about marketing and such. Was there going to be a consideration system? Like, what will that look like? Will we be able to like target a mob and figure out, are they don't like me, or do I have to walk up and have them one shot me to figure that out?
Yeah. Oh, huge drop, right? They officially said they took levels out of the nameplates.
right.
That was actually it's in my
wrote it
notes. I
down,
totally
yeah.
forgot. Yeah. Massive stuff. But yeah, I love what you guys are saying about everything kind of being integrated into each other. And it is a common theme with this project. So very cool. Very cool. Anything else, Mr. Mox, before I drop you off and we start to wrap up?
If I could drop a plug, we're dropping a new episode tonight. So probably when you guys are up, we should have a new episode. It is a Pantheon episode, and we're going to do an episode on Sunday. We're going to record an episode about this stream. So we did 2 in a row for Ashtray of Creations, and now we're doing 2 for Pantheon.
Yeah,
we're really excited.
Oops, I didn't mean that.
You have to slip that in there. Oh.
Well, we're happy you're back. We're happy you're back.
We're
making
welcome
content,
back.
so.
Glad to be back. So thank you guys. You have a good night.
Yep, you too, Mox.
Thanks,
See
Mox.
ya, bud. All right. Wow. That's a lot.
Right. I did. The last thing I wanted to say is that Joppa mentioned meaningful travel is paramount.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize we're going to be traversing the same world, but I think they're going the right way. I'm not seeing the end of it yet, but as far as and I hope I don't. Right. I hope there are always new interesting things to do when traveling, because you spend 90% of your time traveling, unless you're fast traveling everywhere, which is obviously what we don't want to do in general. Wizards and druids aside, but even that has its process too.
Right. Even that isn't a trivial thing, so to speak. So I think it was great that Joppa really put a pin in that. Like, there's not instant travel, and this is all important. And the emphasis that I want to highlight on that whole kind of spiel that he gave was it's not just that we want to make it last long. It's not that we just want to make travel long.
Yes.
It's the emphasis on making the travel more interesting as well, which I think is kind of probably where this all sprouted up, is like, well, we don't want to just make travel take forever so that it makes the world feel big. How do we, address that? So, yeah.
Which I think that's a good transition into, because we didn't really talk about boats, which were mentioned, and boat travel. I remember like how incredible that was in EverQuest, but I also remember how in both my attempt to get to Canark and my attempt to get to Velius, I fell off the boat, I died, and lost my corpse forever. So at least 20% of that 90% is just me trying to get a res.
Yeah, the Canark one was not fun, especially when I thought the little raft was the boat.
Me too.
And it glitched. I'm like, well, I guess I'm in the ocean. I just dropped off the raft, but it was just waiting, and then it took off without me and went to the actual boat.
Yeah,
come on. Okay.
Well,
I'm still scarred, I guess. I didn't realize it, but I'm still hurting.
But it's still in your brain, It's still there.
This is true.
It's still a memory. So let me wrap this up with just kind of a fun thing, because we've dug into this, but it's been so information dense. We could keep this show going and blabbing for a long time about this, of course. But I'm going to give you guys a quick fun prompt based on everything that we heard in the podcast today. Think of the most intense only in Pantheon scenario where, a taming is involved and maybe what you do with the mount. Try to keep it in line with what has been revealed or whatever. But I really want to start this kind of only in Pantheon thing. And I'll throw it to you guys. I'll give my quick idea, I guess. And then we can wrap the show up. Okay. So I'll give you guys time to think while I kind of blab it. So you guys mentioned acclamation might be involved. And, multiple times in the show, they also talked about special traversal buffs or abilities for like climbing and stuff. So the most intense thing I can think of would be going to somewhere like Amber Fate, where it's, the highest level of, wind and cold, and you have to be super acclimated and you have to take a mount that is able to get through there to where most people maybe not even be able to go. Maybe the mount gives you a bit of extra acclimation even. And so you're in a very hard to get to place in the first place, and your mount allows you to get there, find something interesting, maybe a mob, maybe a harvesting node, something like that. And you get off your mount, maybe climb, do something traversal wise that that you've prepared for as well, just so that you are potentially, 0.something% of players that went through all this just to get to a specific spot, where this hole, you tamed the mount, you had to find the rare mount with a specific ability, you had to get your climbing ability up, you had to get climbing gear potentially, all of these things going together just for this one unique experience. And that is my only in Pantheon moment. Which one of you guys wants to go?
ManOfRohan does.
Only in Pantheon can you tame a freaking mount. Like you, Breath of the Wild, sure, but I'm saying the amount of depth in it. Breath of the Wild was fun, and you did have to sneak up and tame, but that was it, and then you were done, and you just had to go to the stable, and then you're done. Then you have them forever. You don't have to do anything else, or you have to buy the amiibo to just get Epona, which I'm scarred about that one too. It's stupid. But only in. I had to buy an amiibo just to get Epona. Anyway, anyone else feel that pain? I do. But I was going to say only in Pantheon. Oh man. Well, yeah, the taming thing for sure. But I'm imagining someone mentioned riding a tauntaun, and byproducts. That's exactly what I was thinking the entire time. Is that I'm going to freeze to death out here. I only have my mount with me. I need to cut him open and hide inside. I'm sorry, Mount. My affinity with you has just reached the end of its usefulness. I need to live.
See, I wasn't even going to go that dark. I was thinking like if you ride a bear in Ark Survival Evolved, it gives you some extra like warmth to get you through cold. But you guys just took this to another level. Like, oh my gosh. Awesome.
Oh god. Oh, so I have to follow that. Okay.
And he's not even the necromancer.
Only in Pantheon do you need deodorant by Drac in order to tame that mount that you have been looking for. To mask your scent. No. I think
I love it though. I love it.
He'll sell it to you. He'll do it.
Only in Pantheon do you have to think about your travel before you leave.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, man. Short and sweet. I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole point too. That's what they started with. That's kind of what they ended with. Is you just it's the journey. You're doing a journey, you know? All right.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to many, many more of these. Every month we're going to have something like this. I realize the rest of us who are not, I'll just admit now, I'm not a PA tester, but the rest of us who aren't able to be at the roundtable, the dev roundtable anymore, which I completely understand. That's a way to differentiate and to give more value to those folks who have. I totally get it, but this brings along a really great opportunity to here's detailed information. I feel like we got not the lion's share, but we got a really good dose of it tonight. It was a great starting point. So I'm looking forward to many more.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. Can't wait to see what the next month's Parting the Veil live subject is. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If it was this intense, like expectations are high, but that was awesome. Well, any last quick thoughts before we wrap it up? Say goodnight to everyone. All right.
I think I just did. Yeah. Cool. I think I just gave mine.
All right. Then thank you so much, everyone, for coming to this Plus U. Thank you for accepting us as your new Plus U overlords, at least for post-Parting the Veil. We look forward to seeing you next month. And thanks everyone that joined the green room. Thanks everyone that subbed and followed during, this whole spiel. Hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you elsewhere in the community. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.